Do I have to be gay? Straight answer, yes. If you've come to the realisation that the only thing that turns you on is the thought of being with a member of the same sex, you are gay. If you also find attraction in members of the opposite sex, you're bisexual. If you only find attraction in members of the opposite sex, you are heterosexual. The jury is still out on why we are the way we are, but I'm convinced of one thing: we do not have a choice. I believe that we're all completely different, and that sexuality should be viewed as being on a sort of sliding scale, with 100% heterosexual at one end, 100% homosexual at the other, and everyone else falling somewhere in between. I stand firmly in the camp that believes you are born the way you are and should embrace it, not reject it or try to change it. It's a part of who you are. Why then do so many people strive to alter their sexuality? Is it because they've been brought up in a culture that reviles homosexuality? And what is it about that culture that feels the need for everyone to be a heterosexual carbon copy of everyone else? One word: religion. If you're a gay person who's been brought up with a religious background, you're made to feel that being gay is a sin, or that you're possessed by demons or the devil, and that simply by devoting yourself and showing more faith, God will point a magic finger at you and completely alter your sexuality. Job done, now go off and make babies. Is it really that simple? No, of course not. And why do you feel that you have to change? It's because you want to fit in. You want your parents to be proud of you and to make them happy grandparents. If you have that strong religious upbringing, it means that you could bring forth another generation of religious conformists. Take your new babies to church with the rest of the family and teach them to be just as closed-minded and hateful of diversity in society. How do you go about it? Who will help you achieve such questionable aims? Look no further than the internet. Google ex-gay and see a plethora of links to websites, all promising you such a wonderful life once you've submitted your entire being to a band of devout religious followers who will shout at you, ridicule you, exorcise you, and generally shame you into pretending that you have miraculously changed your sexuality and can go forth and multiply. One of the biggest protagonists is Exodus International, who have already ruined thousands of lives of people desperate to fit in. They use words like healthy and wholesome to describe how the new you will feel after your magical transformation. The reality is quite different. If you look at a website called Beyond Ex-Gay, you will be able to read the horror stories of such people fooled into thinking that they could become just like their straight brothers and sisters, but instead went through years of misery and self-loathing, all in an effort to fit in with other people's idea of what their life and religion was about. If you are gay but also believe in some higher being passing judgments on you, there are other people who have been through the same turmoil. From the Beyond Ex-Gay site, one man says, after 22 years of trying to change, including ex-gay programs, exorcisms and 16 years of marriage, I came to the realisation that loving myself was far healthier than hating and rejecting my true self. Like thousands of others today, I finally discovered that I can live a wonderfully fulfilling moral life as an openly gay man and still have my faith. Another writer says, if someone came to me saying that they were thinking about joining an ex-gay program, I would have lots of things to say to them. The first one would be to caution them to examine why they wanted to do it in the first place. This particular woman says, I work with a lot of people who want to go to residential rehabilitation for drug and alcohol problems, and in my experience the individual themselves rarely wants to go. It's usually their friends and family who are putting pressure on them to make changes. I see that reflected with the ex-gay programs. How many people really truly want to go, and how many would choose to go if they didn't have the pressure put on them by other people? So my first question would be about their motivation. I'd also ask them to consider whether they feel that they could be completely happy if they were incongruent, that is, thinking, dreaming, hoping and feeling one thing, but having to display the exact opposite feelings, emotions and behaviours. I would do everything I could to encourage that individual to accept who they are and to address their sexuality in the real world and to face up to things honestly. It seems to me that the ex-gay ministries actively promote deceit, dishonesty and lies, none of which I truly believe encourage personal development and growth. Because I was interested in seeing if there were any websites that existed that didn't use the Bible as a reason for people who wanted to change their true selves, I did some hunting around and found this one called NARTH, or National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality. It looks very professional at first glance, and you may think that it's set up by psychologists and therapists with a genuine desire to help people escape the turmoil that homosexuality brings. Their words, not mine. Within its first paragraph is a link to a website called People Can Change, set up by just 7 men who say in their own words, "We've created the site to give hope to those who want to find their way out of homosexuality," he explained, and to point out the way that worked for us. This is a website that purports to be not about being religious, but about men who genuinely feel the need to be a man amongst men. It continues, "Like you, we never chose to have homosexual feelings, so we simply couldn't choose not to have them. We couldn't just wish them away or will them away. But we discovered that we could address the root causes of the conflict, which wasn't really about sex at all. Rather, the longing for male love was, for us at least, really a deep unmet need from childhood and youth. A longing for a father's affirmation perhaps, or a mentor's guidance, a peer group's inclusion, or our own internal sense of just being one of the guys." This all sounds very credible, and for the 7 men who put the site together, they at least seem to have found some sort of peace simply by slapping each other on the back and telling each other what good old boys they are. But then moving on to the second page, we find they carry on. "So unlike those who argue that nothing less than a 180-degree turn counts as a change, those of us who actually experience change are often quite content with a much more subtle shift. To be free from the constant pull of homosexual desires, to have deeply fulfilling non-sexual relationships with other men, and to belong to a close community of men. Perhaps to have a happy marriage, to be a loving father, or else be contentedly single." And then right at the bottom of the page, "To live a life we feel is aligned with God's will for us. Many of us could ask for nothing more." So once again it turns out to be just another religious wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a sad state of affairs, and there are some people out there making videos and blogs telling people that it is possible to change, that they are living proof, and that the rest of us gays are only the way we are because we choose to be, and are refusing to accept God's help. I was initially contacted on this subject by one of my subscribers, Universal Baby, and credit goes to him for pointing out that there are 3 groups of people that are claiming to be cured of their homosexuality by God. People who were straight but ended up in gay relationships for several reasons: convenience, curiosity, bad relations with the opposite sex, etc. Bisexuals who are able to repress their homosexual side, or gays who are in denial, repressing their sexual orientation, or living in sexual abstinence. My belief is that the so-called ex-gays are the ones who are living a lie and can never be truly happy, going through life wearing a mask of someone they are truly not, and trying to make others do the same just to make themselves feel better. If you live in a deeply religious community and are worried about coming out, it's perfectly understandable. What can you do about it? You can't change their views, and you can't change your sexuality, so what are your options? My advice? Move. Go to another town, another state, but settle in a place where you know you will be able to fit in just by being you. It doesn't mean you have to cut off your family, but once you've given yourself a chance to live the life you should be living, hopefully with someone who loves you just the way you are, you will have the strength to get on with the job of living, and not be always worrying about what the next door neighbour might think. The bottom line is that whatever your religious persuasion, you cannot successfully change your sexuality to suit either yourself or other people. Being gay does not make you a bad person, neither does it make you a good person. Only your actions and dealings with other people ultimately determine how you'll be perceived by others. If you use your own judgment to live your life as well as you know how, help others along the way, and learn to love yourself for what you are, you too can have a healthy, happy and wholesome life too, gay or straight.